Hi, everyone. Nick Andreessen here with Oakley Financial Group. Today, we're going to talk about one of the more powerful tax planning strategies of 2024, Roth conversions. Now, many of you have heard of Roth conversions before in the news or you read about it in the paper, and for good reason. Roth conversions, when used correctly, have the potential to save people a lot of money in taxes. However, if used incorrectly, it can end up costing you money in taxes. So, we want to know when to use it and when not to use it. And so, today in our video, we're going to go through a sample client and we're going to see exactly when it might make the most sense. So I hope you stick around and learn a little bit more about Ward and June Cleaver and why Roth conversions make a lot of sense in their situation. But before we get into our sample client scenario, we want to answer the question, what exactly is a Roth conversion? So a Roth conversion is moving money from a pre-tax account like a 401k, a 403b, or an IRA, and moving that to an after-tax Roth IRA. So we move it from our pre-tax account, we pay taxes on that amount that we're moving, and we move it into an after-tax account, a Roth IRA, where qualified distributions can be taken out tax-free. And so the reason someone would want to do that is only if you're in a lower tax bracket today than you expect to be in the future. So if you think your tax bracket today is going to be 12% or over the next number of years is in the 12%, for example, and once required minimum distributions take effect that you're going to bump into the 22 or 24 or maybe even higher tax bracket, that's the scenario when you want to do a Roth conversion potentially. When you wouldn't want to do a Roth conversion, generally speaking, is if you're in a higher tax bracket today than you are in the future or are expected to be in the future. So, very rarely does it make sense to do a Roth conversion today if you're in, say, the 22% bracket, if you expect to be in the 12% bracket in the future. You would never want to pay 22% taxes today instead of 12% taxes in the future. So that I hope provides a little bit of background on what a Roth conversion is before we get into our client scenario. So let's jump in. All right, so now we're looking at Ward and June Cleaver. As you can see here, we have Ward. He's 62 years old. He's a sales director. He's planning to retire when he's 65, and we have his life expectancy at age 89. And we have June. She's 61. She's a nurse. We have her retirement age at 65 as well. And we have her life expectancy at age 95. And that's important because as longevity data is coming out, there's an expectation that there's about a 50% probability that a husband and wife, that one of the spouses is going to live to age 95. So we want to take that into consideration when we're doing our planning. So the next step is to take a look at Ward and June's net worth statement. As you can see here, they have a number of different assets. So we have cash at 25,000. Ward and June have a joint account that is valued at 759,000. June has a 403b at 423,000. Ward has a 401k at 441,000. And those two are important because those are the accounts that are going to have required minimum distributions in the future. June has a Roth IRA. They have a home, a vacation mountain home as well, some cars, some liabilities. So, total, they have a net worth of $2.8 million today, and it's likely to grow over time depending on what their spending is. Once we have an understanding of their net worth statement, of their cash flows, say Social Security, if they have any pensions, what their expenses are, then we can go ahead and build out longer term projections as far as where are they at today versus where do we expect them to be in the future. So when we look at their particular situation, we can see that today they have a little less than $2 million of liquid investment assets. But by the time June reaches age 95, they have over $3.5 million. And this is important because the first step in doing overall planning is to make sure that the money lasts. So in Ward and June's scenario, we know that their money lasts. So then we can take that next step and dig deeper into what tax planning opportunities are available for them. The final step in this process is really determining what are their longer term tax projections. We want to look at year over year when we're defining exactly the amount of Roth conversions we're doing, but we really want to look at 5, 10, 15, or more year tax projections to see if Roth conversions even make sense in the first place. So the chart you're looking at here, we have our 2024, and in 2024 and 2025, Ward and June are still working, so they're paying a lot of taxes. Here we're showing that they're paying over $200,000 in taxes. They're in the 24% tax bracket, which is represented by this blue line that goes across our chart. And then when they retire, Ward in 2026, in June in 2028, they fall into a much lower tax bracket. And they actually fall into a 12% tax bracket. And they stay there for a period of time. And when we're looking at things from a tax planning perspective, it's very common for us to see clients who retire fall into a lower tax bracket because they don't have the income anymore, but then bump into a higher tax bracket when things like Social Security turns on and when required minimum distributions begin. And that's exactly what happens to Ward and June in this scenario. So we have this kind of honeymoon period after they're retired where they're paying very little in taxes. But when they turn 75 in their instance, because their required minimum distributions begin, they are pushed into the 22% tax bracket, which is represented by the orange line. And in fact, when Ward passes away, June then files as a single taxpayer, and she gets pushed into the 24% tax bracket. And when we're looking at our tax brackets, just below our chart here, we can see we've got our 10% bracket, we've got a 12%, 15% bracket, a 22%, 25% bracket, 24, 28, 32, and 33. And what that's representing is that over the next 2 years, the first number in each one of these is the tax rate. So 12%, 22%, 24%, 32%. But once the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act sunsets at the end of 2025, so beginning in 2026, unless Congress does something, tax rates are going to change. So the 12 becomes the 15% bracket. The 22 becomes the 25% bracket. 24 becomes 28% bracket. So in our scenario here, it's actually possible that Ward and June pay taxes at, say, 15% in 2026 and at 28% after Ward passes when June is a single taxpayer. So let's look at a scenario to see, all right, what if we were to do some Roth conversions during this honeymoon phase of post-retirement to required minimum distribution age of 75 for them? So we model in $40,000 of Roth conversions each year. And by modeling in those Roth conversions each year, we're paying more taxes earlier, but we're paying them at the 15% tax bracket. And we're paying less taxes in the future when we're at the 22 or 25% tax bracket, the 28% tax bracket when June is a single individual. And so when we look at financial planning and retirement planning, the number one expense that retirees have is not health insurance on average, it's taxes. And so if we're able to save money on taxes, that goes a long way to helping create wealth for Ward and June and even the next generation. Because doing Roth conversions have the potential to save taxes during your lifetime, but it also has the potential to save taxes for your kids. Because remember, when your kids inherit your IRA or your Roth IRA, they have to take that money out over a 10-year window. And so if they're taking the money out of an IRA, then they're paying taxes, ordinary income taxes, while they're doing that. And they might be in their 50s, in their highest earning years. And so now they have required inherited distributions from your IRAs, from your 401ks, from your 403bs on top of their income already, which could really push them into a higher bracket. Now, in a Roth IRA, they still have to take that money out over a 10-year window, but that money is tax free. And so when we're doing tax planning, here in our scenario, we have Ward and June, and their cumulative taxes after doing Roth conversions is still $1.3 million. But before doing Roth conversions, it was actually $1.6 million. By doing Roth conversions for Ward and June in our sample client, it has the potential to save them upwards of $264,000 in taxes, which I don't need to tell you is a lot of money. So, looking at planning opportunities like this make a lot of sense for everyone. You want to know whether or not you can do a Roth conversion. You also want to know if a Roth conversion doesn't make sense. You can do tax planning and you can do this scenario, and you might see that your taxes actually increase because you're paying taxes higher today than maybe you were in the future. And I hope you understand the power of tax planning, running tax projections, and a strategy like Roth conversions. So there you have it. Roth conversions can be a very powerful tool when used correctly. However, if not used correctly, it can actually cause more pain and more taxes for you. So I encourage everyone to do tax projections in your own particular situation to see whether or not they make sense due to the powerful nature of how much money they can potentially save on taxes for you, your family, and potentially the next generation. If you like this video, please click like, share it with your friends. If you want to learn more about how we work with our clients, please go to www.oakleaffg.com. And you can learn a little bit more about us and our process and how we may be able to help you. Thank you and have a great day. Hi everyone, Nick here again. I just want to remind you that this video is for educational purposes only. It's not meant to be investment advice, tax advice, legal advice, or general financial advice. It's for informational purposes only. Please see your financial professional, your tax advisor, your legal advisor when making any financial decisions that can impact your wealth. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention.